Hi everyone, welcome to stage 2 of our Farm to Table project. As a reminder, I'm creating these videos as stages for this particular project that we are going through. But please do not hesitate to go back through these videos for any other projects that you're working on. I'm going through these videos pretty quickly, and these are just suggestions and a walkthrough for this particular project. So hopefully this will help you out in the future as well. So, as we've done already, we have put all of our clips into their own events. So, all of our clips are now organized into their own events. So, we have an event, which is audio, with all of our audio clips, a B-roll event with all of our B-roll clips that we're going to be putting over our interviews and our talking heads, so to speak. And then we have our interviews. And then we also have our stills and our titles. And all of these are going to be organized even further so that we are ready to put them into our editing project, which is going to be our project timeline. And speaking of our project timeline, we have to create one now. Because our project timeline is where our final project is going to be edited in, I'd like to create an event just for all of my timelines. Because there are times when I have multiple timelines to either compare different projects, or there's times where I will have various parts of a project. So I'm going to go into File, and I'm going to create another event, and this is going to be for my project timelines. So I'm going to create an event called Project Timelines, and this is where all of my timelines are going to go. And we can keep it in Farm to Table library, click OK. And now we have an event that's ready to bring in our project timelines. There's a few ways of creating our projects. We can either click on this icon that says New Project, and we can also go to File and go to New Project. And once we do that, now we can give our project a name. So I'm going to call this Farm to Table Timeline. And we can keep it in Projects Timelines here. So I'm going to click OK. And now we have our timeline inside of our event. And if you've noticed, now we have a project timeline that is created in this area here. And this is where our footage and our clips are going to go inside of this timeline. So what we need to do next is we need to go through and we need to decide how are we going to put our story together. So for this particular documentary, what we need to do is we probably need to tell the story from the people that are telling it themselves. So within the interviews, we need to go through all these interviews and decide what are we going to use for our story. So now is a good time to go through all of our clips and select the best parts of each one that we know we want to use for our story. And by doing this, I'm going to play through each clip and select an in point and an out point range of the clips that we know we're going to use. Then once I do this, I'm going to select them as my favorites. And this is going to organize them even further, allowing me to get rid of anything else that I'm not using in each one of these clips. When you're ready to make selections inside of your clips for your edit, it's a really good idea to go through all of your clips and get more familiar with what's going on inside of them. This will really help out to see what is going to be used for your edit to tell your story. Another good thing is to go through all of your clips and to get rid of clips that you know you're not going to use right away. For instance, there's a couple multicam clips here that I know we're not going to use because these were from an exercise that we've already done. So I'm going to highlight them and command click each one, and I'm just going to right click and I'm going to move them to the trash. So again, this helps us get familiar with all of our clips, but it also helps us get rid of any unnecessary clips that we know we're not going to use. So now that we've done this, we're able to go through all of our clips now and start making selections. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through each one of my clips and I'm going to make an in point and an out point range of each part of the clip that I know I want to use. And when I do this, I'm going to select my F key to make it a favorite. So let's give this a try.
Okay, my name is B.D. Douch and I have Earth Trine Farm.
Okay, so I know from going over these clips ahead of time that this is my introduction shot here. And you might even want to name each one according to what they're about. It's a really good way and a good habit to work into. when we go through clips inside of Final Cut Pro, we want to make selections within them that we know we're going to use inside of our timeline for our project. By doing this, we're going to make an in point and an out point that creates a range inside of that particular clip. So let's do this. So by using my I and O keys, that's going to allow me to make an in point and an out point in each clip. So I'm just going to select any random spot for now, and I'm going to select my I key. This now has created an in point of this range for this clip. And if I go beyond this, let's just pick another random spot, and I'm going to select O. This has now made a yellow range inside of this clip that we have. This is the only part of the clip that we're going to now use. Everything before the yellow range and after the yellow range is not going to be used. So now I can just drag this part of the clip into my timeline to be used. And that's what's really great about organizing your clips inside of Final Cut Pro. So now that we have the basic concept of making selections or ranges inside of our clips with our I and O keys, let's get started. I'm just going to delete this clip for now. And this range that we're using right here, I'm not going to use. By getting rid of a range, you can hold down your Option key and click with inside of it. And that just gets rid of it. So I'm going to actually play through this now, and I'm going to make ranges with my I and O keys. Let's give it a try.
Okay, my name is B.D. Douch, and I have Earth Trine Farm.
That's good. I'm going to start that from the top here, and I'm going to select I when he's beginning to introduce himself. And you can do this in real time as well. So as I'm playing, you can hit your I and O keys while your playhead is moving.
Okay, my name is B.D. Douch, and I have Earth Trine Farm. We sell to caterers, schools, restaurants, and produce stand. Only one store. We try not to do any shipping. And we try to keep it all local.
And that's a great out point. So I've selected my in point when he's introducing himself, and now I'm going to make my out point when he talks about only serving local. So I'm going to click on my O key. And now I have my range. We cut off a little bit before the range, in the beginning of the range, and a little bit after. And if you need to zoom in a little bit inside of your clip so they can see more, you have this slider that's on the bottom of the event browser here. And all you need to do is just increase that. So now that you can see in this view, everything before our range and after our range is not selected. So now we're only using this part of the clip that is inside of the yellow range. So I'm going to make my view a little bit smaller here. That looks good. That's about right. And let's just go to the next interview. And I'm going to try and go through this quickly.
The daily routine is getting up early before the sun usually. And
okay, perfect. So he's talking about the procedure of getting ready to work on his farm. So let's make an in point in the beginning of this.
The daily routine is getting up early before the sun usually, and definitely before my family, of where things are at in the still of morning. It's a time, contemplative time, and a good...
I like still of morning, so I'm going to select my out point right after he says morning.
Of where things are at in the still of morning.
And on real time, I selected O, and now I have my range here. Now, what we need to do is, because we have these ranges starting to get selected, and you can do this as you go, we can now make these ranges favorites. And what's going to happen is, when you press your F key, it's going to make each range that you have selected, that is highlighted, a favorite. So with this range highlighted, I'm going to select my F key. And now a green bar has gone through the inside of the range. This is telling us that this range has now been selected as a favorite. And I could do the same thing for this range. You could do them as you go along as well, or you could do them all afterwards. It's really up to you. I like to do them as I go because just in case if one of my ranges gets erased, like this, it's okay. I already have the range selected as my favorite. So no work has been lost in that case. And I'm going to select another clip here.
We have so much diversity of produce.
Oh, that's good. So he's now talking about the produce and the stock that he has. So let's select our eye point for the very beginning. That seemed to work.
Yeah, we have so much diversity of produce, and that allows a high quality of freshness, and because of all the microclimates that there are around here.
We can select our out point, and now we have another clip. And now I can hit my F key and make this a favorite. Now moving along now, you all want to spend some time because there is really good information in all these clips. I'm just skimming through here pretty quickly to create favorites. So I'm going to go to the next clip. Oh, okay. So now we have a clip where there's being a question asked from the interviewer. So we want to cut that out. We're not going to use that for our edit. So right after she speaks, I'm going to select I. And let's say I've gone beyond a little bit. So I'm going to use my J, K, and L keys. Remember, J allows us to move backwards, so we can shuttle backwards or jog backwards. And it does sound a little weird. And L allows us to move forward.
There's definitely.
And K allows us to stop. This is a really good tool to use if we don't use our mouse, or if we need to get very precise in a particular clip. It allows us to shuttle inside in Skim to get more precise of a selection. So right when she stops, I'm going to select I.
There's
Perfect.
Definitely a movement happening. It's not just here, it's worldwide. And in a way, like I said, it's a renaissance. It used to exist before refrigeration. It was more of a direct relationship.
All right, so now I can select my out point with O. And again, spend some time really picking out some quality sound bites. I know I'm skimming through this very quickly. I'm going to select F now to create this a favorite. Now that I have these clips selected as favorites, each one of my ranges now was selected green, and if there is no range in there anymore, it's okay because the favorites is still intact. Now I can go up to my clips view here inside of the event browser, and now I can click inside here, and instead of showing all clips, which it's doing now, I can just have it show as my favorites. So now all of my favorites have been selected, and everything has been narrowed down. Oh, it looked like I selected something else here. Let me go back to all clips. There's a little part here I must have selected as a favorite. Maybe you have that as well if you see that. This is not a bad thing actually, because if you have made a favorite and you want to get rid of a specific favorite that you have selected, no problem. As you see here, there's a little part of this interview here that is selected as a favorite. You can click on this clip here, and when you select you, it makes it unlist the favorite. Or I should say it's unrating the favorite. So now that favorite is gone. And I can do this with this as well. Select you, and now that favorite's gone. However, I do like this clip, so I'm going to hit F again. So just to move quickly, I can make as many ranges as I want. Select favorite. I can do whole clips as favorite. And now when I go into clips view, those show as well. So all of my clips that I've selected show up as favorites, and everything else has been weeded out. For instance, these clips are weeded out, and these clips are as well. But also everything before and after the selected range is weeded out as well. So when I zoom in a little bit, everything that's before the range and after the range is weeded out when I select favorite. The only thing that shows up in favorites is where the green is highlighted. That's the only part of the clip that will show up as well. So favorites is a really great way of narrowing down and organizing your entire project. So now that when you're ready to edit, which is our next stage, we can then drop our clips in to our project. So for the next stage, I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick out more of my clips and favorites, and I'm going to have them all ready to go so that we can then put them on our timeline to build our story so that we can make our project exciting.